Mr. Castle and Tony.
Good evening and welcome to the Monday, May 8th Muscatine School District Board of Education meeting. Madam Secretary, can you please take roll and help us determine the quorum, please?
Directors Conard.
Here.
Cooney.
Here.
DeBeat.
Here.
LaRue.
Here.
Morgan.
Here.
Phillips.
Here.
Sure.
Here.
A quorum is present.
Thank you. Tonight, Pledge of the Allegiance is by Vicky Merdnick's fourth grade class at Mulberry Elementary School. Can you please stand and help us with that? Thank you for grade class at Mulberry. You made our evening. Thank you. Moving forward with our agenda, I would like to welcome the visitors and the media representative. It's always good to look at the chamber here and see too many people are attending this meeting. So thank you. With that, we move forward with the first public hearing. We have two public hearings on our agenda tonight. So the first public hearing is to amend the while thinking of computer here, FY23 budget. Do we have a motion to proceed?
I'll make the motion to open the public hearing.
Second.
So we have a motion and we have a second. Do we have, Madam Secretary, any written?
I think we need to do a roll call to open.
Yeah,
Sure.
okay.
Okay. So again, Directors Conard.
Aye.
Cooney.
Aye.
DeBeat.
Aye.
LaRue.
Aye.
Morgan.
Aye.
Phillips.
Aye.
And Sure.
Aye.
We can open.
Thank you. Did we receive any written?
We did not. No.
We did not. Any question, board? Any discussion? Anybody in the audience would like to discuss this matter? Okay. Well, if there is no discussion nor any written comments, do we have a motion to close the public hearing, please?
I make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
All those in favor say aye. Directors Conard.
Aye.
Cooney.
Aye.
DeBeat.
Aye.
LaRue.
Aye.
Morgan.
Aye.
Phillips.
Aye.
And Sure.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. So moving forward, we move to the second public hearing for the proposed plans, specification, proposed form of contract, and the estimated cost of said improvements for the Muscatine CSD controlled entrance additions at Grant, Madison, and Susan Clark Schools, AE project number 222182. Do we have a motion to open the public hearing, please?
I make the motion to hold the public hearing for the proposed plan specifications, proposed form of contract, and estimated cost of said improvements for the Muscatine CSD controlled entrances additions at Grant, Madison's, and Susan Clark schools.
I'll second.
So, okay, we have a motion and we have a second. Madam Secretary, can we have a roll call
Sure.
vote, please?
Director Conard.
Aye.
Cooney.
Aye.
DeBeat.
Aye.
LaRue.
Aye.
Morgan.
Aye.
Phillips.
Aye.
And Sure.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, did you receive any written comments
No.
for that? Okay. Any board members would like to discuss this matter or have any question? Anyone among the audience would like to discuss or talk about this? Okay. Well, if there is no oral or written comments, can we proceed to have a motion to close the public hearing, please?
I'll make the motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Madam Secretary, can we have a roll call, please?
Director Conard.
Aye.
Cooney.
Aye.
DeBeat.
Aye.
LaRue,
Aye.
Morgan,
Aye.
Phillips, and Shore.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Moving forward with that, we move into our student school board representatives report, and I see Caleb with us tonight.
Yeah, I'm here. Gabe has a choir concert, his last choir concert at high school, so he wasn't going to miss that. Anyways, I don't want to take up too much time. Looks like there's a lot to do tonight. But this is my last school board meeting. Don't have a whole lot, but I'd like to say a couple things. I'd like to talk about how important it is to be a leader. And I'm not talking about like formal positions like being a representative. It's important to realize that no matter where you spend your days or what positions you're put in life, you always have the opportunity to be a leader. Again, leadership doesn't include being in charge of anyone or anything. In fact, more often than not, it doesn't include those things. Everybody has an opportunity to be a leader in the way they live their lives, the way they treat others, and the passion they have for the things they do. The dedication and persistence in which they pursue their goals, as well as go above and beyond to fulfill their responsibilities in life. Leadership is far less about what we do and so much more about the manner in which we do it. Greatness is not defined by what is accomplished, but rather how it is accomplished. Martin Luther King Jr. is not considered one of the greatest leaders in American history because of what he accomplished, although his impact was very great. He is held in such high regard because, as he put it in his I Have a Dream speech, the content of his character. Finally, leadership is first and foremost about the people which you lead, not about yourself. Jesus tells his followers in the book of Mark that whoever wants to be a leader among you must be your servant, and whoever wants to be first among you must be the slave of everyone else. For even the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve others and give his life as a ransom for many. The way we lead should not be done with the purpose of self-fulfillment, but rather the purpose of elevating the people around us. After all, in the words of Mark Twain, actions speak louder than words, however, not nearly as often. It's my opinion that the world around could be a much better place if everyone let their actions do a little bit more of the talking. I guess that's my challenge to, more people here than I expected. Let your actions lead others wherever you are, and leading by example is the simplest yet the most impactful way to conduct your life. Thank you for having me on the board this year. I appreciate your belief in me to represent Muscatine High School. I hope I've done well in that, although I won't be here. My email's next year. My email's always open. So I thank you for having me.
I'd like to say a quick something. When you had the courage to bring up the fact that you didn't feel it was enough when we had our swatting thing, that took courage. That took a stand. And I think it made an impression, I know at least of me, and I'm sure others, to realize there is more point of views. And part of that is those leadership skills that you just talked about it. You're going to do great.
Thank you.
Caleb, I'd just like to thank you for participating in our organization here and giving us the student point of view, because, ultimately that's what we're here for, is for the students. So thank you, and thank you for your insight.
Thank you.
And I would like to echo everything. I think, Caleb, knowing you and serving alongside with you this year, I can say you are definitely a natural leader. Everything you talk about in regard to leadership, I can see that as part of you. So we're very lucky to have people like you that will sit around the table here and become part of that decision making. So thank you for taking that time and also serving on the board representing the student voice. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. DeBeat.
And Caleb, before we wrap up here, we do have a little special plaque for you. And again, just want to say thank you. Your position and Gabe's position are so important for student voice, and you both have brought that, and appreciate all that you've done there and your leadership in that. So Congratulations.
Thank you.
My wife has my computer. I should have brought my other laptop. Can you open that up? P. Does it look funky to you? Or maybe I'm just not reading it right.
Which one, P is that?
P, the insurance rates.
And also, I would like to say, I don't want to miss this opportunity also to thank Gabe for his service on this board representing the student body for almost 2 years. We wish that he will be with us tonight, but we also understand his busy schedule. So thank you, Gabe, also, and we know and we look forward always to hear the good story about you in the future. Moving forward, we move into Citizen Speaks, which is our next item. If anyone in the audience wants to address the board, please step to the podium, state your name and address. You will have 3 minutes to talk. Per Iowa code, we cannot respond or engage in any discussion during the board meeting, but remember, we're always available. You can reach out to us via phone calls, via emails, and so on, but during the meeting, per Iowa code, we cannot respond. So anybody would like and wish to address the board tonight? Okay, thank you. Thank you. So moving forward, we move into the board targets, goals, reports. We usually have 3 items on this, and we do have 3 presentations. As a matter of fact, I'm thinking like we go 1 item at a time. The first item is students will graduate prepared for post-secondary options. And under that, we have 2 items. The first one is the biliteracy seal presentation with Morgan Moore, please.
Good evening. My name is Morgan Moore. I'm one of the associate principals at Muscatine High School. More and more, having the skill set to speak more than 2 languages is seen as a great advantage globally. Locally, we have a diverse community which includes native speakers of French, Spanish, Portuguese, just to name a few. Additionally, Muscatine Community Schools regards bilingual education so much as to incorporate a dual language program at one of our elementary buildings. Muscatine High School joined dozens of other Iowa high school districts last year when we began assessing for the seal of biliteracy. The seal of biliteracy certifies through various assessments a student's proficiency in English and another language. Per the Iowa Seal of Biliteracy website, a seal of biliteracy is important because knowing and using more than 1 language is a critical 21st century skill. A seal of biliteracy values language as an asset, recognizes the value of language diversity and cultural identity, prepares students with 21st century skills that will benefit them in the labor market and the global society, provides employers, universities, and grant or scholarship providers with a method to recognize applicants for their dedication to attaining biliteracy. Tonight, I want to recognize the hard work of our language teachers and our senior and junior students who have so far earned the seal. They will be recognized with a certificate and a pin. The pin is in the mail, I'm very sorry, and awarded the actual seal on their diploma when they graduate. This is a great accomplishment, and we at MHS are excited for their future education and careers. I've asked the students to invite their families as well, because without their support, this would not be possible. So just tonight, just so you know, I have about 5 students who are here. That's about a third of our students so far who have earned the seal. We have lots of things going on at the high school right now. At this time, I would ask that our language teachers, Mr. Charles Netzer and Mrs. Kathleen Skippers, join me up front to recognize these students and hand them their certificates. And when the students come on up here, I'll just have you remain up here as well. Our first student is senior Litzy Chavez, and she earned the seal in Spanish. Our second student is Berenice Colmenero, and she earned the seal of biliteracy in Spanish as well. Our third student tonight is Madalena Gomez, and she earned the seal in Portuguese, and we're awaiting her Spanish results as well. So come on up, Madalena. Our fourth student tonight is Grace Miller, and she earned the seal in Spanish as well. Last but not least, we have Giselle Murillo, and she also earned the seal in Spanish. Additionally, we have students who have also earned the seal in German and Russian this year. So lots of exciting accomplishments at Muscatine High School. Thank you so much, students, for coming out tonight, and thank you to families as well. Thank you.
Photobomb this thing. Stand up. Pop your head up there, Danny.
Good job.
Thank you, high school assistant principal, Miss Morgan Moore, and also the foreign language teachers here. We know and we are extremely proud of the foreign language department at the high school. Thank you. The next item is the ROTC proposal, and I would turn that into Clint, please.
I'm going to let Troy kick us off here, Troy Coolan with the high school. He's going to go through part of that presentation. So, Troy, go ahead.
All right. Well, thank you for having us tonight. This conversation started about a year ago when Mr. Christopher introduced me to Lieutenant Colonel Meyer, and we started talking about our ROTC program. Well, this has been kicked around for many, many years. We've talked about it, we've thought about it, and we started looking at, is this the right time for it? And so we went back to some of our colleagues, and the momentum started to go like, let's seriously look at it. So we've done everything from talking about logistics to how much is going to cost us to how many kids we want, what type of curriculum we're looking at, and everything else. So I will let the expert here, Lieutenant Colonel Myers, start to jump into this and walk us through our PowerPoint.
Hey, school board, community, how's it going? Doing all right? So this is our agenda. I'm going to roll through these fairly quickly. I'm actually going to skip this slide. Looking at the ROTC programs, there are 3 currently in Iowa. So all of Iowa has 3 programs. There's over a dozen in Chicago. So to give you an idea of the scope of it. When we're looking at the things that we have for key indicators for the JROTC programs, we've got attendance, graduation. We did talk about indiscipline in a meeting prior to this one, and how that is affected by parenting, it's affected by all sorts of things, but JROTC also has a positive effect on the indiscipline as well. As we move into the curriculum, there's not a large amount of curriculum that's unique to this type of thing. You'll see these same topics in your regular school curriculum. And as our plan of action, this is where we started in January of 23. Well, actually, we started a little bit before then, didn't we?
We started in 2022.
Yeah. So as we're sitting at about the May timeframe. So submit paperwork, that's the DA 3126. DA is Department of the Army, because Army, right? And then I'm going to retire here in a couple years, hoping to open up a JROTC here at the high school to provide that opportunity for the other kids. So I'm going to skip one more here because this is the budget, and I know this one's super fun, but this is what it would basically, according to 2018's cost projections, we have about 2 teacher salaries plus laundry is the expenses to Muscatine. I know laundry sounds weird, right? But the cadets will be in uniform as well for their drills, for other things like that. So basically, yeah, it's just the cost of 2 instructors, unless we get huge. If we get to be, there it is. If we get to be 151 students, we need another instructor. If we get to be 251, another instructor. So it could be a program that grows. So, board members, do you have any questions or concerns before I get into my question slide? Community?
Will we get to ask questions at the end?
Yeah.
Okay.
We are anticipating some questions.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love questions.
do you-
Questions are the best.
All right.
Troy or Joe, do you guys have, how many kids have you solicited kids to see how many would be interested in a program like this yet? Are you to that point
I
yet?
don't go to the high school yet.
Yeah.
Well,
I know.
you know, so
That's why I started with Troy first.
Thank you, Mike. Actually, we've been using a career program called Naviance, and so on there, a lot of kids will, whether they express something about some type of military service. Keep in mind, ROTC, the junior ROTC is not just for kids that want to be in the military. We are looking, I'm going to steal Caleb's word for a minute, leadership. A lot of this is just any student that wants something different from a leadership standpoint or to do something different is what we're looking at. We usually have students every year join the military. To give you an exact number, we don't have that yet because first we wanted to see where you guys were interested in it. Once we get that, yes, we will start looking at how many kids, because we've talked about like, what's it going to take to really make this worth it? How many students do we really want to go look at? And ideally, we would love to say 100 kids are going to join right away. And maybe that will be so. The idea being, we start in 2025, that would give us like a year and a half to really start getting this picked up. And we've talked about ways to really maybe start getting out more word that if this is becoming a reality, how do we make this work? Who wants to be interested? Do we do some type of summer kickoff? Things like that. So I hope that answers your question a little bit.
It does. Do we have an idea what Ottumwa, Davenport, I'm going to say, I want to keep saying Davenport North because I know that that's where they house it, but where Davenport, Ottumwa, and East Waterloo, what their numbers are at?
No.
Okay.
No, I can get those information.
It's just kind of, I would think that we would be similar, maybe a little less to start with, but I would think that we would probably, especially if all three of those are pretty similar, it'd be good information to have at some
For
point.
the first 3 years of a program, the program is sorry, I'm the audience. So for the first 3 years of program is provisional, which means that you don't have to meet attendance. You could have 1 student or 0 students for your first 3 years, and it doesn't matter. After that, they kind of like put the screws to you to make sure that you are holding a program that does provide the Army and the municipality with students. So.
And that number would be 100?
It's either 100 or 10% of the population, whichever is lower. So Muscatine High School would be 100.
Right.
But if we were holding a school that had 600, it would be 60 students.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah.
So what you're talking about is when you retire, that's that 20, 25 a day so that it wraps around you.
Well, ideally. Now, any instructor can be pulled from the pool of instructor. Now, Davenport does have a vacancy. No, Davenport doesn't. Waterloo has a vacancy right now. I don't know what Ottumwa has. But again, there are vacancies that show up. So people can apply for the program for sure. There are NCO positions, officer positions, and warrant officers, which can take either the officer or the NCO spot. But they would be able to apply from the national database. So if it turns out in the first year you're like, that guy sucks, we want a different one, that can happen for sure.
Also keep in mind too that the reason we have this time frame in here is if anyone knows, the government doesn't move fast. So like once we make a proposal, if you guys are interested in it, we make a proposal, it can take us a year to 2 years for them to even say, yes, the military is on board. So we were also anticipating like it's going to take some time to do that. Plus we know there's a budgetary cost. So we figured if we're getting it out there sooner, that if this becomes reality, that we can all start looking more, getting more into how we can budget it and make sure we're prepared for it.
Any other questions before I run through my last bit here? All right. Oh, I've already talked to the Legion. They have an indoor air rifle range. So part of the JROTC options is to include a rifle team. It's not a requirement, but it is something that's available. Also, National Guard Armory. Muscatine has one just south of here, East or west.
Right.
Yeah, just south.
Somewhere.
And it has an EST, so it's got a weapons trainer, which just teaches marksmanship. There's no actual bullets or guns or anything with that specific trainer. So it's just to learn the fundamentals of marksmanship. And those are facilities. We already talked very briefly about the very bottom quadrant, but basically the facilities would be based off the size of the program. More students would need another office, right? And, all right, the questions I have for the board, and this isn't anything that has to be handled within the next 12 to 15 months. These are things that are far away. So, credits for JROTC. So would it be an academic credit? Would it be an elective? Would it be that sort of thing? Letters for the rifle team. Do they get a sports letter for letter jackets? I don't know if they still do that. I've been out of high school for like 85 years. And then Iowa
They don't do lettered
JROTC
jackets
instructor
anymore,
requirements.
don't they?
That's not a question. For the school board, I have to get that from the state of Iowa. I do have a couple other instructors I haven't talked to make sure I get the full list of what the instructor requirements are. But for the Army, I've got over 1,000 hours on one of these lecterns. So plenty of time. And that's all my questions for the board for the future. So that's our summary. Are there questions for me? Yes, ma'am. Or
I
Troy?
noticed you had a housing area. So where are you proposing that could be at?
Housing area.
Well, I meant,
So Karen,
the facilities.
to
Facilities,
answer
I
your
apologize.
question, Karen, Ryan has been a part of the conversation. Terry Hoganson's been a part of the conversation. So we'll find 2 classrooms in order to do that. Again, knowing that we have some time to get there, and that's even as we look at the cost, right? If you've got 2 people, essentially they're like 2 instructors. So they have to build a program then that, if they're taking these and we're giving credit for them, they're not taking something else, right? So it all fits into that mix. The questions we'll have to answer as we look at Davenport North and Ottumwa and some of these other programs, what credits are they awarding through that process? And we would have to build something similar to that for our high school.
Also for the facilities, ma'am, the facilities or the storage would have to be, this is where ROTC is setting their stuff. It doesn't have to be a lock and key, only JROTC gets the keys, but it would be somewhere where it's like, okay, in between this tape line and that tape line, that's where you get your stuff. The classrooms do not have to be dedicated. It would be ideal if they are, so that we could, set up the rooms for whatever class is going to happen that day. But it doesn't have to be. So I don't know if that eases your mind in the facilities.
No, it was just, as we always looking at where every classroom and then the teachers and the students as it is. So I thought it was more of an add-on, facility that way. But I think from what Clint has said and what you have said, makes sense enough.
Yeah, realistically, when we actually walked the school grounds, we were anticipating what can we currently absorb if we decide to do this. So we're not wanting to go out and build a brand new building and just dedicate to it. The whole point was, let's take the resources we have, reallocate what we have. 2 years from now, we may have a couple classrooms out there we can use. We were talking about where we, basically, where do you store your, uniforms, where we do that, and how we can get creative at that. So we were actually anticipating not actually adding much to this at all for us from a facility standpoint. We just wanted to make sure what we can do. And if we needed to, the community has been pretty on board. Like even the National Guard's like, what do you want? We're all on board on this one, so.
They have storage we can use as well.
Yep.
I've already talked to the lead out there. I'm not sure if I'm close enough for the audience. I've already talked to the NCOIC out there and some of the, her parent leadership. So we have facilities there if we require them as well.
Thank you.
So the students, you say they with laundry, they would come to school, dress in their uniform at school, and then they would take their uniform off before going home, is that correct?
They wouldn't have to, the uniforms that they have would be used at school alone.
Okay.
Like they don't have to take them home, often the programs do allow the students to take them home, but that laundry is professional laundering services for like dress uniforms for the most part. So anytime there's a football game, you now have your own color guard. Those get laundered every time.
And they would wear those to other classes throughout the day, correct? Or not?
Not the dress uniform.
Not to dress, I understand that.
But they should have the option to. I'm not certain what the requirements are at the other JROTCs.
Okay.
But I'd be, got a year or two to figure that one out.
Right. Okay.
I have just a quick question. Is the program itself a standard program where, we can go, let's say, to Davenport or Ottumwa and so on and try to clone what they have? Or can we create our own?
So the instruction is provided by the, where's it at? It's on the slide there. Or I didn't put it on the slide. Anyway, it's provided to us by the Combined Arms Center. It's an accredited program through I forget what agency, but it is an accredited program that's provided to us. We get a curriculum that's cut and dry. So it's got the intro, it's got the body, it's got the closing, it's got everything for your instruction. So we receive that and we instruct that exact program.
So this is not like we have some students that go out to MCC for part of their classes, and then they're also at the high school. You're saying that these students would be with you all the time?
We'd be just another one of the teachers at the high school. Right. So we'd have a classroom in the high school itself. So when they rotate from art to chemistry to I don't know what kids take nowadays, ROTC would be one of those things.
Yeah, realistically, we'd be part of the elective wheels. So that's where you would be like, hey, I can still get my honors classes, but then I'm going to go to my ROTC class and I'm bouncing to the next class.
And John, to your question, I would guess that it would be just like being at Ottumwa High School or East Waterloo and comparing it to Muscatine High School. They still have basically the same curriculum, or they would have the exact curriculum, but their schools are still, and how they're taught are still a little, there's some variation, some difference. It's not lockstep. Every single person does the same thing every single day. Right. There's still that autonomy between the programs.
Correct.
At least what I've seen in the past. So, right. And it's an outstanding program. I'll just throw that out there.
And I think if we go back a little bit, you will see over in the like the school-wise, the whole point is to enhance our graduation rate and enhance our attendance rate, the interdiscipline rate, and the dropout. We really want a program that can complement that and meet what what we want, what the standards the board has put forward, but also support that. So maybe we're hoping there's students out there that are like, hey, I can buy into this. I am going to come to school. I can see hope. I want to do this. And that would be our main goal.
And again, from my perspective, as we started having these conversations, when you think about the work we've done with Portrait of a Graduate and our career pathways, I think this fits very well as a career pathway. Again, we're going to have kids that through this program, that's where they'd get their PE credit, health credit. So those are some of the pieces we'd have to figure out. But it really is it's another pathway for kids to take to help them prepare for the next step.
And can this start like their freshman year or?
Yeah. Yes. So it's ideally designed for 4 years of instruction.
Okay.
But doesn't have to be. They can join it any year.
Yeah, when I've talked to the other programs, they've had students who will start their freshman year, and then all of a sudden you'll have one that's a junior going, hey, I want to jump into it, and they've got that worked out as well. So the nice thing, though, too, is there is 3 active programs that we can sort of borrow their ideas with before we make it more of a Muskie program. But also the thing that we're finding out, too, is the Army wants to support things like this. They want to expand on it. And that's part of the reason why we're bringing it to you now is there is a drive right now from both their level and also what we're seeing. Because if you look in Iowa, there's not a lot of opportunities for kids like this. You'll see that there's quite a bit of yellow up there. And where we're locked right now is we're sort of in the middle of, around all these major areas that we're hoping that maybe even possibly other students from other communities want to join us and then become part of the Muskie family. So
You talk about how it looks after high school, so they do the 4-year program, and then if they choose to then commit to the I'm going to use the wrong words because I don't know the lingo, but if they wanted to continue on then in the military, but maybe not Army, like how does it work with other branches and their next steps?
I know it may say this is through the Army, but it really can help with any branch. So, for instance, the Marines have their own version, the Air Force have their own version. This is just more of about whether it's the Army supporting us, but they can go anywhere they want. We're not indoctrinating them like, hey, you're joining the Army, this is how it's going to be, welcome to 4 years. And that's not the case. If all of a sudden a kid comes out and goes, hey, I want to be in the Space Force, we're going to support them, let's make it happen. They've got some classes and skills to get them ready for it. And so to answer your question, they can go to any branch they want.
They will be at a slight disadvantage for knowing the rank structure.
Sure.
But other than that, it's the same program.
Yeah. And that was just part one, I guess. I do want to know how that works then. So if they are on the path for the Army and they go, do they then enroll in basic, or are they like a...
Well, it's not any different.
What are they
than we
ready
do.
for?
It's not any different than they do now. We have students who are like, currently I'm the junior counselor at the high school. And if a student's interested in joining the National Guard, first off, they would meet with the recruiter. They would go through the process. They would have to go and make sure they can clear everything. And then if they want to join, they have a choice. They meet with their families and stuff. If they, they can do that. They're 17, they're 18, things like that. So I'm not anticipating the process changing in any shape or form. That process is they meet with the recruiter. This is how we're doing it. Because keep in mind, yes, Lieutenant Colonel Myler, he's going to be with us, but he's also a retired Army, and these are other people like active Army, active Marines, active, like the recruiters are already coming in. So nothing changes from that standpoint of there's still a process. We're not invading that process. It's been tried and true for a very long time. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, kind of. I was not clear, sorry. I'm just curious, like if our Pathways programs too, it can set them up for certifications and things so that they're ready to enter the workforce in some cases. So I was curious. No, but I was just curious, like, do they have any advantage to doing this if that were to be their career path? So I kind of get it.
They have a rank advancement upon enlistment.
Perfect. That answers my question.
So, yeah.
Thank you.
But it doesn't affect them if they commission. So if they become an officer, matters zero.
Yep.
That only is affected if they do college ROTC. So, sorry about that. I can't help with that one.
Any more questions?
Well, it's just, what is it that you want of us
The
now?
next phase, what we're actually looking for is, we wanted to know if the school board is serious about this, we have to fill out some paperwork for the United States Army so that we can pursue it and get on the list. As of right now, we're sitting in limbo. If you guys are like, yes, this sounds great, we're interested in it, then what we would do is we would fill out some forms on our end to get it to the Army, and they put us on a list. And then as that process goes along, this won't be our last conversation with you guys. We would slowly go with, okay, hey, if we get approved, we're going to want to meet with you guys again, have this conversation. Here's what our next steps will be. So tonight it's just more, we're proposing that we would like to an ROTC program at the Muscatine High School. If you guys are okay with it, then we will start the process of going through the government.
Because this process starts the Army signing a check for $125,000. So that's where it starts. And then,
What is our process?
So it'd be my recommendation to allow them to move forward if there are no concerns from the board. Obviously there are a number of questions that we'll have to answer through the process, but as you heard, this is a 18-month to 2-year process. So it's not like all this has to be decided before next fall. Like, we're going to be talking about this. Obviously, we have follow-up to do with other programs and look at how that impacts credits, and there's a number of pieces that we'd still have to work through. But we wanted to get this in front of you, at least give you exposed to the conversation. I think it's a great opportunity for our school, for our community, and for our kids. That's why they're here tonight. I think we're very fortunate to have Lieutenant Colonel Meyer here and willing to help move this forward, and thank Troy for working with him on that. So I think we're fortunate we have some of these pieces that'll help us move this forward a little bit better.
well, I just moved here like 2 years ago, so I'm trying to get a program basically so I can shove my kid into it too. I don't want to push him up to Davenport.
Yeah.
So Clint, do we need to put this on to next the next agenda so that we can act on it?
Yeah,
Is
we
that-
can put it on there for action.
Okay.
But if there's any questions ahead of time, let me know so we can make sure we try to identify some of those for you.
Yeah.
Any further questions? I know we took up a lot of your time, but.
Thank you.
Thank you, Troy, and thank you, Lieutenant. Yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The next item on our board targets goals report, Muscatine schools will utilize resources effectively and equitably. And item C, students will learn in a positive and supportive environment. And under that, we do have the Spark presentation, Dr. Candy Steele and Mr. Corey Space. All yours.
Everyone. I'm Candy Steele, principal of Jefferson Elementary and co-principal of Spark.
Good evening. Thank you, everyone, for having us. I'm Corey Space, principal at Franklin School, and the other co-administrator for the Summer Spark program.
And you can imagine how excited we are about getting this rolling again this summer. It's from June 20th to July 21st. Our goal is to help kids with accelerating their learning. So it's not a remedial program, it's more of an acceleration opportunity for all kids. Currently, we have 411 kids who have enrolled, and so a really large group of kids. And our day goes from 8 until 3, so it's a regular school day. Breakfast will begin at 7:45, and we're looking forward to just a lot of fun with our kids.
So this will be the third official year for the Spark program, and that stands for the Summer Program for Arts, Recreation, and Knowledge. And it'll be the fourth free summer program, fourth year in a row that we've had a free summer program to students hosted at Jefferson Elementary during the summer. And as Candy mentioned, it really is aimed at giving kids a boost over their summer. And the research that we come to many times as educators shows us that over the summer, many students will experience what is known as the summer slide, meaning that their fall test scores lag just a bit behind their previous year's spring scores. So we have a little bit of learning loss that occurs. And our goal for the program is to make sure that we send students into the upcoming school year with a little bit of a boost and less of a gap. And so our timing is such from June to July that we feel like it's enough of a break for students as they finish up this school year and enough of a lead time as we jump into the next school year. So we are always a little bit concerned about the data from our students. With over 400 students participating, we want to know that what we're doing is meeting that goal. And we're very pleased to share with you that based on the data that we have been able to collect through our district data analyst, we are seeing that students who are in our program, specifically last year, first, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth graders who attended Spark demonstrated less summer slide than those across the district who did not attend Spark. And so that was measured by our fall benchmark assessment that all students take across our district. So very, very, very happy that our students have been able to maintain those skills and come into the new school year with a bit of an edge.
And one of the things that I would say we're seeing, for those kids that have attended multiple years, so you think about them having their school year and then spending 5 weeks with us in the summer and going into the next year over multiple years, it's pretty impressive the things that are happening. And I can speak to the kids at Jefferson, kids that were so far from benchmark, now actually hitting their goals and doing really well, performing at grade level. And I really attribute it to the fact that they have opportunities in the summer. Excited about that.
And we do have a number of students who are returning with us.
Yeah,
And
have been there every year.
it's fantastic. You know, in our positions, Candy and I get the opportunity to visit in other buildings, the other elementaries throughout the district, and they remember your face from the summer program, and they're excited about coming to see you again during Spark. And so, you know, when you can get kids coming to school during the summer, you must be doing something that's good, right? So we're really excited about that.
Some of the pictures, you can see some of the fun things that we have them do.
These are some water activities, which we usually try and schedule for a really hot day. And we partner with so many community partners. We'll get to that in a second. But Muscatine Power and Water has been a wonderful partner with us, coming and giving of their time and resources, and their staff are just great. They look forward to coming and sampling water, testing water, so we're involving that science piece. And then, of course, we have a little bit of fun by playing in the water. So thanks to the city for working with us, allowing us to close down a street and open those hydrants up and let the kids have a great opportunity.
It sprays almost up to Mulberry from the edge of Jefferson. It's quite a sight.
Some more hands-on experiences that we have here. These are some of our presenters. We're going to get to our community partners. We have a great partnership with MCC, and really just getting kids up out of their seats, moving around the room, digging in and exploring with hands-on activities. Here we have 3 pictures. We had a lot of interest in agriculture, and so we have a lot of wonderful teachers. We just cannot say enough about the teachers who are willing to come and serve in the program and have classes of students, taking them on field trips, taking them, bringing in presenters. We have had petting zoos right out on the lawn of Jefferson and Central Middle School right out front, and the students involved in planting, harvesting. So it's just been a really great opportunity for them.
At the end of the experience, we do a survey, and we do want to know what people feel about the program. So these are the 4 questions that we ask. Would you attend Spark again? Do you think it helped with your reading? Do you think it helped with your math skills? And do you like the enrichment classes at the end of the day? And that's usually the second part of the day. So you can see that our survey results are always, they have been just really positive.
And these are based on students.
These are students,
And of course, we are always concerned about how our parents are feeling about their child's experience. And we've received very overwhelmingly positive responses from parents as well. The questions we asked were, would you send your child to Spark again if given the opportunity? 93% of parents obviously said they would. Do you feel that Spark helped your children grow in reading, and do you feel your child grew in math? Again, high responses there. And my children enjoyed their Muskie Spark afternoon enrichment experience. So again, in the mornings, we're focused on those academic pieces of literacy and mathematics. In the afternoons, we get to those enrichment activities. And so it's great to see that positive feedback. We've talked about some of our community partners, and you may see some familiar faces up here. We have Betty Collins from Musser Library, Dave Bakke from County Conservation. Several of our other teaching staff work with different organizations during the summer. Mr. Yarrington, that's a snake there. I think I stayed away that day.
I know,
but the students were sure all about hands-on. And we do have a link here in our presentation. You may have had this shared with you. It does link out to, I'm sorry, I didn't share that document. Well, I have them here, so I will share them with you. It includes a huge impact with Kim, or a huge relationship with Kim Warren with Aligned Impact of Muscatine. She's been critical in getting a lot of our partnerships formed. We're so thankful for her. The Art Center, the City of Muscatine, I mentioned, County Conservation, the Muscatine Fire Department, ISU Extension Outreach Office, Muscatine Community College is doing a lot of work around career exploration with our 5th and 6th grade students, and they are having a great time. There's actually a curriculum that they are using that dives into a lot of the local industries that are in our town. So we have guests from Kent, Community Healthcare, the Merrill, Hospitality Services, Carver Pump is another one. Musco has come in, so we're just so thankful for those partnerships with our community.
And finally, we care a lot about what our teachers think and what they feel. And they sit and help us think through what we could do better each year. These are some of the comments that they provided at the end of last year. And the thing that I would just say is that most districts have a really hard time getting teachers to teach during summer school. That is not the case for us. Corey and I this year actually had to do interviews because we had so many teachers and people who were interested in teaching that we just couldn't keep everybody, even with 411 kids. And so that speaks volumes to just the program and the opportunity, I think, The teachers love teaching during this time. We try to make it a really good time for them so they can have a really good time with kids. And we just really appreciate the support from Clint and Joelle and Becky and our leadership team, really to let us, provide a great experience for everybody that's involved, really.
And we sure hope you can join us. We would invite you to come over during the summer. Let us know. We would love to have you. And we have, I should say, Caleb, seeing you made me think of all the wonderful high school volunteers that we have that help out during the summer as well. And they probably don't get enough credit, and I don't know if we had pictures of them, but the students respond so well to those older students. And we're just so thankful for their support. Many of them are working towards silver cord hours during the summer, and they just make these connections with kids, and they can get them to do things that sometimes maybe their typical teacher during the school year wouldn't be able to get them to do. And we're just, it's a great team to see in action. So
yeah, the silver cord hours, 18 hours, but many of our high school kids just end up spending the whole summer with us. And they have multiple summers, and so that's been really fun too to get to know them. So we don't know, are there any questions?
Just when you first started, you said about how the skills went up, but I noticed that second grade was not in there.
yeah.
What was the reason for that?
So that's one of the things that we're continuing to look at. Obviously, that data piece is important to us.
Yeah.
And so we didn't see all that growth or that maintenance at each grade level. So our question then is, okay, how do we go back and make sure that we're ensuring that for the grade levels? So we are in great talks right now with Joelle and Becky and our curriculum leads in the district to be able to say, what do we need to do to boost that curriculum for not just those grade levels, but all students, continually refining that process.
And Corey, has it been second grade over multiple years, or this was just last year's data, right? So it might have been.
And it's, I would say it's a little bit hard to collect data over 5 weeks.
Right.
Like, how much can kids really grow when you really think of, that's not a lot of days. But we do feel like the summer slide issue of them just doing nothing all summer versus being involved and continuing to read and developing vocabulary and opportunities like that has to help. So when they enter back into the school year, even if we can't see that maybe their FAST scores comes in higher than others, I would say, you think of confidence building, the ability to be able to problem solve, work with others, cooperate. The things they do in the afternoon are so exceptional. And the kids gain a lot of just soft skills through opportunities like that, and that's a little harder to measure, to tell you the truth.
Yep. The engagement with school.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got 400 kids that are giving up their summer to come to be part of a program. So
I think it's changing the narrative for some of the kids about what school is.
Yes.
Right? And that maybe isn't intangible, but we are still, when you have kids getting out of the car line in the morning, running into the building.
And Corey, I would say that it's more than just the students, it's probably families, because a lot of times we lose families early, and once you've lost a family, it's really tough to get them back. So if you can change that whole perception of what school is, and their kids are saying, hey, let's get up, I gotta go to school, it makes it a lot easier than fighting them to get out of bed. So.
And I just want to, put in there too that this is really a great program, and Candy and Corey and the staff have done a great job. We talk about achievement gap, and one of the things we know from research is that gap doesn't widen during school. It widens outside of school, in summers and those long breaks. So the more that we can do to provide that, and now in many cases you hear less about achievement gap and more about opportunity gap. Right? So there's a learning component to the day, but there's a lot of enrichment to the day. So kids are learning, they're coming, they're excited. And again, because we've had some great partnerships there with Kim Warren, I think after year one, the conversation was how do we do this all year? And so both Franklin and Jefferson worked with Kim, and they were doing some additional enrichment opportunities through the year. Now this year, we're rolling that out to all of our elementaries. All of our elementaries have, some of these enrichment opportunities. So it's really kind of carrying through the rest of the year. And again, we have such great community partners who love being there and being a part of that, and we're very fortunate for that. So thanks for all your work on that.
I did come over and visit the Sparks program, and it's a great program. I was over there for the enrichment. And I commend you both for the excellent staff and the excellent partnerships that you've recruited, obviously, and it was amazing that what our kids can do. Do you have a cap on the number that you can take? Right now you have 411. Is that the top of the?
We want to make sure that we're ensuring a good experience for the students that are there. And so we are aiming for, depending on the grade level, a class size that is going to allow that to happen, right? And so we're usually somewhere around 22 to 25. However, staff are very good about saying we want more kids to be a part of this.
Right.
So we try very hard to get students in, and over the last couple summers, we have been able to do that. So if we have students who want to participate, we're able to get them in.
Okay.
Is 411 about average, or is it down a little bit right now? I mean, I know obviously you'll have more than that by the time it gets there, I'm guessing, right? What did you have the previous year, or what did you have last summer?
I think that's about where we were this time last year.
I noticed at one point, somebody said they don't realize they're having fun and that they're learning something at the same time. Can you maybe give an example or something?
Well, I think the best example of that, Karen, might be when we walk through the schools, like I say, we visit other buildings throughout the year, and students remember us from Spark, and then they recount a specific detail or event that they learned that they had. They may not remember the teacher who taught it to them, but the experience. Is something that sticks with them. And so out of that, being able to put hands on livestock, or being able to see a fire hydrant open that normally might just be flushing and they are told to stay away from it, but do it with the supervision of an adult who's talking about water quality and the reasons that they do that, right? It's just something that I think is making an impact.
Thank you.
I have
Go ahead, it's okay.
So I actually got to be part of some of the first planning calls when this whole thing even just was a little idea with Troy and Joelle and Kim. And so I remember the excitement and what we wanted it to do and what gaps it needed to fill in that whole summer slide thing. So then I also recall the presentation last year when you were here and who was served. And I was thinking, I wish there were more Franklin kids, because when you look at the demographics and things too, I imagine, and those testing scores and things, we need those kids there, and it'd be a really good opportunity for them. So with the enrollment numbers this year, are you seeing it spread a little bit more evenly and really target those kids that we want to be impacting?
We are extending invitations out. We are working, and we currently do have more students representative. There is transportation provided from home schools. I don't know if we said that, but transportation is provided by bus through the district from students' home schools, and they get on the bus and come. Franklin has had so many students that maybe if they missed the bus, this is exciting to me, they walked to get there. They were having so much fun. One day we didn't think a student was coming. She showed up at the door. How did you get here? I walked. I wanted to come. So that was pretty cool. So yes, we are making sure that we are reaching out to families, encouraging them, letting them know transportation's available, and hoping to get them to come.
The other thing is the kids are getting to know one another from different schools, and that's pretty fun to see too. Making new friends and getting to know other students outside their own school.
Yeah, and great questions and great information, and thank you to both of you. My question is, if parents are seeking this opportunity for their kids, can they call you, even though maybe they didn't receive that invitation letter? Can they still participate or not?
Yeah, they can call Jefferson Elementary. Cindy, our secretary, is prepared to answer any questions they might have.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. Wow, great presentations tonight. I mean, really very important information. Okay, moving forward with the superintendent updates.
These other presentations have set the bar pretty high, so we're gonna get back to reality here a little bit. First of all, we had legislative session end. Obviously, last week a number of bills were passed, and over the next several months, over the summer, kind of looking at all that legislation, changes need to be made, whether to policy, to our handbooks, things that will be required to be on our website. We'll work through all that that process. One of the areas that we'll want to keep a close eye on is the reduction to the AEAs. Obviously, they provide a number of services in all of our school districts, and at some point that hits people and the number of staff that are providing services to some of our neediest kids. So we'll keep a close eye on that, but any of those changes, obviously, we'll be in conversation here with the board if we're changing policy and as we go through the handbook process. Also want to say that this month, May, is School Board Recognition Month. So at your spots, you each have a certificate. And just want to say thank you for, again, I don't know that people understand how much time goes into the job of school board member. It is a thankless job, but I appreciate all you're doing for our kids, for our staff, and our community. Maybe at the end of the meeting, Tony would get a picture. We can get everybody together and with your certificates and take a quick picture. But thank you for your service. Also want to take an opportunity to thank Daphne. On Saturday was Race for the Schools, and she is the muscle behind all of it. She puts it all together. It's a great race, and our kids are so excited. We have a number of buildings represented there. It was a great turnout. We had great weather for it. So it was really a tremendous event and a great fundraiser for our district. So Daphne, thank you for all your efforts in that. Yes. This is also Teacher Appreciation Week, so this week. So a number of activities are happening in our buildings. And again, we have a tremendous staff, and we're very fortunate for all the work that they do for our kids. And then finally, in your employment recommendations, you have a recommendation for Director of Operations, Chris Nienhaus, who currently is the principal at Susan Clark Junior High. We had a good number of candidates for that. Again, Chris did a great job through that process. When you think about the things that will be coming up over the next couple of years with construction projects, boundary changes, there's some really critical things that he'll bring some great strengths to. So looking forward to his work on that, and obviously some transition time for him and Ryan as Ryan heads to the high school as well. I don't have an answer to you because I know the next question is always, okay, what's happening with Susan Clark? We'll work through that process and I'll keep you posted on that. But obviously we will need a principal there and we'll be going about the process of identifying that. So and with that, any questions for me?
I just want to say thank you to Daphne, but you're not posting any of our times, right?
You did great, Karen.
Thank you, Clint. And indeed, thank you, Daphne. I heard a lot of great stories about that. Thank you. Moving forward, the possible action item on our agenda is the following items are considered to be routine by the Board of Education and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a director so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered in its normal sequence from the agenda. The items are 1, minutes, 2, employment recommendations, 3, bills and claims, 4, policies, no minimal required by law, 5, student teaching, a memo of understanding with Luther College, 6, student teaching agreement, Wartburg College, 7, internship experience agreement with St. Ambrose, 8, third and final policy reading, 9, agreement with Unity Health, full-time nurse, and the last item, 10, agreement with Unity Health for resource navigators. What are the wishes of the board?
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
The only question I would have, and I don't want to remove it from it, is just the resource navigators. That's the same amount that we had this year, right?
Correct.
Okay. I'm good then.
Okay. Okay, all those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please signify by saying aye.
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 Oppose? Okay, motion carried. That takes us to item L, which is to approve the amended FY23 budget. And I see Tom,
Well, I'm here
in case if there
case
is
you have
any question.
questions.
Okay, do we have, or what are the wishes of the board first?
I'll make the motion to approve the FY23 budget amended.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion or any question for Tom?
Just want to reiterate about, there's no increase in taxes for this budget amendment. It's all based on additional revenues we got in or using our unspent authorized budget to get through the rest of the year, so.
Thank you. And this is traditionally, Tom, it's a normal practice, right?
Yes, we do every year. If we don't amend and we go over one of those 4 functional categories, we get a comment in our audit. So this just helps with that, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Another question? Okay, all those in favor of approving the amended FY23 budget, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Okay, motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Okay, moving forward is to approve recommendations or recommendation for managed print services to Gordon Flash Company in the amount of $12,741.48 per month for 36 months. What are the wishes of the board?
I make a motion to approve the recommendation for managed print services to Gordon Flesh Company in the amount of $12,741.48 per month for 36 months.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Who do we currently use?
Currently, we use Marco. So we've used Marco for many years. So even prior to 2018. As I stated in the board book, 2018 is when we started this initial managed print service. We had our main goals were during this RFP process that this was the second time that we did this, so we learned a lot the first time. And so this second time around, we wanted to make sure that we still kept our devices down to a reasonable number, which is around 57. And if you remember, well, you may not remember, in 2018, we had 174 before we started this process. And then we also, we have an average number of black and white prints and color prints that we know we want to stay under, and then utilizing a contract that we're able to use our physical plant and equipment levy. And then making sure we utilize some software called PaperCut. And this time around, we'll have all of our devices throughout the district you'll have to walk up to the device to print release, so that basically you can send something to any printer in the district.
Right.
And you can print it. And then, so those were some goals that we had. We didn't necessarily take the lowest bid for our RFP. As I said in the write-up, we had 7 proposals from 5 different vendors. But I'll let Scott kind of take the next step, because we were, not that we weren't unhappy with Marco, and we were with them for 5 years during this program, and we kind of went a different direction with the model that we were going to choose.
So during the current 5 years, and even before that, we've had Konica Minolta for the brand of large-scale copier that we've had in our district. And so through this 5-year process, like Tom said, we've learned a lot of things. And one of those things is that if this year is anything to be, I guess, an example of what we've gone through, our Konica Minolta fleet just does not perform well after 3 years. Like, so we've just had this year specifically at a lot of our schools, like McKinley started off the school year with a brand new principal, and she was having to deal with her copiers being down during a time period when teachers really need those things to work, right? Copiers, like everything else in technology-wise, should be an infrastructure piece that's invisible that you just go up to and they work, and when they're down for long periods of time, it causes undue stress and just things that people shouldn't have to deal with. And so basically, I'm just going to give a little bit of history here. So after 2018, when we first started this process, a year later, we ended up having to replace most of the Konica Minolta fleet we had at that time. So the Konica Minoltas that we replaced at that time in 2019, they're just ending their third year. And so 3 years, and we're already dealing with the kind of service calls and warranty issues that we're seeing. Just doesn't seem like what I would expect. Even though they're very complicated machines, it's just not something that we would expect to run into. So one of the things, when we were reviewing these submissions, we were taken aback by the quoted reliability for Canon. Canon's not something that we have had experience with in our district, but when talking with other people, including some of the references on the RFPs that came in, so I spoke to Marshalltown, and I spoke to Fairfield, and I spoke to Davenport Community School District. And in each one of those situations, they just didn't have the kind of issues we dealt with. Like, in fact, Marshalltown, their IT director really surprised me. When she was at her previous district, they had Konica Minoltas, and then they had switched to Canon, and all of her issues had pretty much gone away in terms of the stuff she was dealing with her Konica Minoltas. And then when she got to Marshalltown, they already had Canon. And so she said her copier fleet was about 3 years into the process. She was renewing that for an additional 5 years on the same hardware, which I was like, are you really? You're going to go 8 years on that type of hardware? But she's like, we just don't have that kind of, it's just not an issue for us. So that just was very surprising to me. But again, it spoke to that quality on Canon. So one reason why the RFP is more than what we didn't go with the cheapest bid is we wanted to get that more reliable vendor that we can, that our teachers don't have to deal with that kind of thing.
Scott, what's the timeline? Are they going to have the copiers over the summer? Are they going to have everything ready for the RFP, August 1?
The RFP calls for those to be in place by August 1st.
Okay. And overages, are the overages rates similar?
The overage rates, you mean similar to what we have now? Or between
way.
the
You're
RFPs
not
that
concerned
came
with
back?
overages
No.
overage rates?
Well, I am concerned with overages because it's something that we do have to monitor to make sure that we don't fall into that situation again. So we'll be talking to administrators tomorrow. But as far as the rate for overages, this company, Gordon Flesch, was the least amount if we would happen to go over. But that's not going to happen, right?
All right.
So
I'll hold you to that.
We are going with a 3-year instead of a 5 because Scott and I are like, and that might cause the rate to be a little bit more than what it would had we stretched it out over 5 years. But
okay.
Any other questions?
Well, I'll just say that this was a huge topic in our daily desired experiences. And so to have it acknowledged, I think, is just really important. And it shows that maybe we were listening, you guys were seeing the issues. No one was losing their mind over something that didn't exist. It was real and it was causing a daily disruption. So very excited to have this for the next school year. Still too late, but no, I'm just kidding. It's good. I did have one
20
question.
days left, right?
Right. You don't even need to do schoolwork right now. No. With the new supportive materials for the standards, I just said that correctly. I want Mike to notice. Does that change like print counts or what the expectation is, or it has nothing to do with? No.
Everything that, like, as far as our curriculum.
That all comes from them.
Everything as far as the curriculum is digitized. They won't have to run it off on a copier.
Perfect. Thank you. I didn't know how you came up with that number, but it's good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, all those in favor of approving the recommendation for managed print services to Golden Flash Company in the amount of $12,741.48 per month for 36 months, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Okay, thank you. Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thanks. Moving forward, the next item on our agenda is to approve the K-12 literacy adoption and professional development springboard 30,794.28, intro literature and writable $491,514, and amplify $1,175,550.78 for a total of $1,697,858.98. Too many numbers, right? What are the wishes of the board?
Motion to approve the K-12 literacy adoption and professional development for Springboard for $30,794.28. Intro to literature and writable for $491,514, and Amplify for $1,175,550.78 for a total of $1,697,858.98.
Thank you, Matt. I really like that. So do we have a second?
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion or any question for Tom?
I don't know why they couldn't just round up to $859. So I just wanted to review, you may be asking what resource we're using. So every year we do budget for curriculum adoption. It's not 1.6 million, but there is something that we budget for, and we may not spend that every year. In fact, for the last 3 years, we haven't spent the 400,000 that is budgeted for curriculum adoption. So we do have a resource, and then there's also, so for Title I, for supplemental services, we're able to use that resource. For K-3 early literacy intervention, we're able to use that resource also. And so the K-3 literacy, you will see that that's a categorical funding that you'll see on the audit report that gets carried over if we don't spend it. So we do have, I think there's around $90,000 right there. We probably won't use all of that resource, but we will use some of that. There's also ESSER 3 learning loss that we're able to utilize. And then, every so often I will update you on our unspent authorized budget. And there is, we do have a large unspent authorized budget. We're right there, right above that recommended percentage. So this would be a one-time expenditure that would be a perfect use for a purchase such as this. So I just wanted to make sure you guys all knew that Joelle had a resource in mind when she started this process.
I thought she was covering it.
So, yeah. Oh, and this curriculum cycle is good for 7 years too, so.
So at this amount, that means if they need additional materials in year 3 and year 4, it's all provided under this. So it kind of covers us for all of those literacy needs over the next 7 years.
So you open the door, though. This year it's literacy. What's next year?
I believe next year's math.
Social studies.
Social studies, and it won't be nearly this. What can we expect from social studies, roughly? You're not, or you can get this at some point. It doesn't have to be tonight.
Yeah, I know for social studies, we have purchased materials already because we had to get that up and going. So it won't be anywhere even close to this. And then the following year is math. So there'll be kind of a buffer year.
Yeah, from a budgeting standpoint, it'd be kind of nice to know when we're going to expect a big outlay like this. I would guess literacy and math are going to be the big ones, and then other ones will be smaller.
Yeah.
Science is going to be expensive, but
Yeah, so next year's social studies, the following year is math. And I actually have a curriculum cycle so you can see each year what would be adopted.
Thank you.
Another question? Thank you. All those in favor of approving the recommendation, please signify, or the adoption, I'm sorry, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Nay. Okay, motion carried. Next item on our agenda is to approve the contract award recommendations for the controlled entrance additions at Grant, Madison, and Susan Clark Junior High. What are the wishes of the board?
I make the motion to approve the contract award recommendations for the controlled entrance additions at Grant, Madison, and Susan Clark Junior High.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion or any questions? I see Ryan is ready here also to answer any question.
What are the alternate reception desk?
Yeah, so the bid looks a little bit different than what you guys are used to seeing, right? So we have it broken down by subcontractor. Because of Aaron and the Russell team, we're able to more accurately look at, instead of awarding this to a general contractor and them choosing the subs, we're able to more accurately look at those subs and choose the low bids out of there to give us a little bit better deal. So the alternate bids for those that I think actually are no cost, right? Yeah, so they were a part of the base bid. It's just a different like wall covering behind a reception desk. Okay. So nothing that's out of the ordinary. I think one is a wood back instead of a vinyl graphic, and I can't remember what the other one is.
They're
both wood backs. So wood behind the front desk instead of vinyl.
But there was no difference in the two.
No difference in cost.
And any of them, all the way down, they were the same.
Yeah. I just didn't know.
So what we anticipated is that there would have been an upcharge for wood behind the reception desk versus the vinyl graphic. The subcontractors just happened to make that a part of their base bid. So it was a no-cost upgrade.
So the principals have an idea what they wanted, or was this
We've
even
been
chosen
through
then?
the design phase with all of the principals and their teams, so they have like a somewhat of an idea of what that color scheme is going to look like, what those graphics are going to look like, what their office layout's going to be.
Okay.
Any other question?
Yeah, just the approval process that the contractor, subcontractors are qualified for the work and also insured for the work, all process that Russell
Yeah,
validated.
so once we got the apparent low bidders last week on Thursday, Russell goes through and meets with, does a telephone conference with each subcontractor, vets them, they're the low bid, but we make sure that they're the lowest responsible bidder and can meet the insurance requirements.
Thank you.
So once we approve this, they'll be ready to start in the summer?
Yes, actually, as soon as we get this approval, we have contracts kind of queued and ready to go out, especially to get some of our long lead time materials ordered as soon as possible. But yes, work with and start once school is out, beginning of June.
Is your recommendation for all of the apparent lows then? It's that top chart, right?
Yeah, so that the approval would be for all of the apparent low bidders.
And I would just like to say thank you to the Russell team and Aaron and Leggett, working through that process. But we had a good number of bidders on this. I mean, you saw the bids came in really favorably. But again, I think, with Russell kind of boots on the ground, working with those folks and getting them in here has been a big benefit for us.
Another question? Thank you. Thank you, Aaron, and thank you, Ryan. Okay, all those in favor of approving the contract award recommendation for the controlled entrance additions at Grant, Madison, and Susan Clark Junior High, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Okay, motion carried. Next item is to approve health and dental insurance rates for 23-24. What are the wishes of the board?
I make a motion to approve health and dental insurance rates for the 2023-2024.
Second.
years.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? And also I see Tom. Tom is
Yes,
very
I know.
busy tonight.
I'm going to take the next 2 months off, but I'm kidding.
So Tom,
On the second page there in the board book, there are just a quick analysis of the budget for the last 2 years. Last year, or the current year, we're just ending, and then what we're projecting for next year with Holmes Murphy's help and with Wellmark's help. So we meet with Holmes Murphy, 2 or 3 times throughout the year, Clint and I do, and then just a couple weeks ago, we had an insurance committee meeting, so we planned for that. We met with the insurance committee, we went through our insurance, health insurance plan for next year, and you guys all know, you get the report every month about our self-funding insurance balance, so we're planning on funding at around the $6.2 million for next year. So that will have if we have the rates there on the right-hand side, and that's what you're approving tonight. So there are just a couple plan changes that the insurance committee was informed about, and it's all related to our prescription drug plan. I won't go into a lot of detail on that, but it was just kind of adding a couple more layers of copay, depending on some specialty drug types. Again, I don't want to get into the weeds or the details of it. And then the second part was, I think it's called Prudent RX program that we're going to be participating in to kind of save some. We ended up saving a little bit of premium costs going forward. Then there's no, there's not drugs excluded, but employees might have to choose a different drug plan, or not drug plan, but kind of drug. Please correct me if I'm saying something wrong.
No, you're
Clint.
doing well. These would be specialty drugs that have high costs, and right now a number of the pharmaceutical companies provide like a $5 copay to the employee, right? So they pay $5, then the drug company puts in money kind of on their behalf to cover everything else. And essentially what happens here, we change our co-insurance for these specialty drugs. The cost to the member is zero, right? And then the district actually can leverage some of those dollars from the pharmaceutical company. So again, right now it's a opportunity to still provide low to no cost to our members and save the district some money.
And we'll continue to look at different options, and because we have that flexibility now that we're self-funding. So as we start with this health insurance committee again, next year we'll begin some discussions on other ways that we can save our plan, or save dollars in our plan, so.
And again, we've had 2 really good years since we've been self-insured, and so again, part of the reason and the rationale we went to this is to make sure we were in the driver's seat and keep costs as low as possible. We've had our claims go up significantly over the last couple of years. If we were fully insured, Wellmark's going to look at us and say, you're getting a 12% increase on that $6 million plan, right? We're getting the increase on our stop-loss insurance, not on the whole plan. And because we've had 2 good years, instead of budgeting for a 10% increase, we're budgeting for a 5% increase, right? So we're going to use up some of that fund balance to offset that difference. So.
And then we'll have no change in our dental rates either. I put that at the bottom there, but there won't be a change in dental rates for next year, so.
Tom, I may be a little slow, or maybe I'm really slow, I don't know. When I look at the chart, so am I to assume that a single, it's roughly $900, and then the single plus one, I add the next column to that? Is it 17, or roughly 1750, and then I add the third one?
Basically, that's the,
because when I look at it, the cheapest is a family. I mean, they're like flipped. Maybe I'm not as slow as I think. Because it just didn't look right to me. I'm just saying.
I was just assuming you added it.
They should be different. I gave you they should be flipped. It's 903, 1712 for single plus one, and 2722 for this 250 family.
So you just add them.
The columns and rows are mixed up. I apologize.
ADHP for a single's price $697.
So that's the $697, the single high deductible health plan, and then the $1320, the single plus one, and then the families. So
Okay.
sorry about that.
It's
Thank
all
you
right.
for
I just
pointing
looked
that
at it as
out.
like,
No,
What?
I didn't correct.
I'm logically trying to add
I
things.
did
and
not correct
like-
this
okay.
I did correct it, but I think in all the confusion of getting ready for raise for the schools and stuff, it didn't get attached.
All
So
right.
I will get that attached to the board packet, but think of it as, instead of looking down, it's Plan A, B, C, it's single plus one family. And then across is 250, 500 HD, Highly Deductible Health Plan. Thank you very much, Mike. I appreciate you more than anything right now. So.
We're proud of you, Mike.
Sorry about that. Wow.
No worries. It didn't look right.
No, that's fine.
Any more discussion? Okay, well, all those of you who are in favor of approving the health and dental insurance rates for 2023-2024, please
With the
signify.
changes being made?
I'm sorry.
With the changes made?
Yeah.
Can we?
As changes
As
discussed.
changes described.
Please signify by saying aye.
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 Oppose? Okay, moving forward. The next item is to approve the 2023-2027 labor contract with Muscatine Education Association as per the negotiated settlement of 3.18%. What are the wishes of the board?
I'll make the motion to approve the 2023 to 2027 labor contract with Muscatine Education Association as per the negotiated settlement of 3.18%.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, no discussion. So all those in favor of approving the 2023-2027 labor contract with Muscatine Education Association as per the negotiated settlement of 3.18% or 3.18%, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Okay, motion carried. Next item on our agenda is to approve the 2023-2024 salary adjustment of 3% for the classified, certified professional employees. What are the wishes of the board?
Make a motion to approve the 2023-2024 salary adjustment of 3% for the classified certified professional employees.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor of approving the 2023-2024 salary adjustment of 3% for the classified certified professional employees, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Okay, motion carried. Next item is to approve the tentative MHS class of 2023 graduates. What are the wishes of the board?
I'll make the motion to approve the tentative MHS class of 2023 graduates.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? I would say that we as a board of directors, we always look forward for the graduation and seeing our students and our future leaders walking through that stage and receiving their diploma. So congratulations to all in advance, let's say. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving the tentative MHS class of 2023 graduates, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Thank you. With that, we move into our discussion and information. And Tom, back again. April financials, please.
I hope it's right. It is. I think so. Sorry
If not,
about
Mike will
that.
find out.
So I'll just keep this short. So tonight I'm presenting the April bank reconciliation and the year-to-date financial summary. Remember, on the next board meeting, we will have that, adopt that revenue purpose statement to call for an election for the renewing our revenue purpose statement. So that will be an agenda item next month. Unless you have any questions, that is my short April financial report. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Any question for Tom? Okay, thank you, Tom. Moving forward to item B, first reading of policies. 204.17, exempt meeting of the board, which is a new policy. 305, communication channels, recommended to delete. 600.3, school hours. 801, naming and/or dedication of facilities and grounds. 204.4, closed sessions of the board. Any question about any of these policies?
Just the second one, 305, what other policy is that tied to? Because usually we delete it because it's already in some other one.
It's covered in several, and I can,
Okay.
yeah, there's communication, Jamie and I talked about. There's different categories.
Right.
I can pull them up there on that shared document that we have that list. This is one of the ones that ISB recommends because it's covered in so many other policies. We don't need this one as well.
A lot of times I just like to cross-reference to see
Right,
it. But it's not
and I can
something-
get you that list.
Thanks.
And please remember that we do have 2 more readings before we approve those policies. So take your time, look at it, and if you have any question, make sure you connect with Daphne if you have any question. If there's no other question, we move into the announcements, meetings, and events. May 9, MCSD and Riverbend Mobile Food Pantry, 4:30 to 6 at the Administration Center parking lot. May 17th, last day for seniors. May 21st, Muscatine High School graduation at 2 p.m. at MHS. May 25th, district-wide retirement celebration between 4 and 6. May 29, no school, Memorial Day. May 31st, 2-hour early dismissal, Labor Day. Last day of school. June 12, school board regular meeting at 7 p.m. at City Hall. And I want to remind everybody that we will not hold the community conversation in the month of June and July. So it will be just our regular meeting in June at 7 p.m. here at the City Hall. One of the things, if I may take just 1 second to thank all our buildings. This semester, I decided to go and visit every building, all the elementary, middle, junior high, and high school. I met and talked to students, teachers, staff, principals. I can say and summarize everything in one sentence. We have a school system to be proud of. And I think this is the message that we need to carry with us when we talk to everybody. So we need always to be also a promoter of our school district. So thank you to all buildings, administrators, teachers, staff, students is the best moments to meet with them and talk to them and learn from them. So thank you all. With that, do we have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Those of you who are in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Thank you and good night.